I wanted to ask about the pace of tools right now. Figma, After Effects, Blender, C4D, generative AI, and whatever's next. Learning new software has always been part of the job, but it feels relentless lately. How do you keep up personally? And do you worry the market's leaning too hard on tool proficiency over conceptual thinking?
Good question.
Really good question.
I think the last bit of it, I do feel like, yeah, there's so many tools out there, and there is a lot of pressure that feels like to keep up to date with these things, but they are tools at the end of the day, and they might help you bring to life a certain aesthetic or a certain effect. And I think ultimately it's like, why do you need that? Like, what's the idea driving behind that? So yeah, I definitely feel like it's about, still the idea first, and then how, and if you need to execute that idea, then like what tool can you use? I think the good thing with a lot of these tools is they are becoming a lot easier to use. They might be web browser based, or something that really kind of democratizes some of those really like specialist skill sets that have been to get a Cinema 4D license years ago was like an astronomical amount, whereas now there's some incredibly simple online 3D tools that can help you get a similar effect quite quickly. I think we would like to do more stuff in experimenting with these new tools. I think from a team perspective, like we've talked about having like a day a month or something along those lines, where you just kind of just play around and experiment and explore. And I think like it's probably quite a few years back, but we did a few days like that where we just kind of take an element of our brand and just play around with it essentially, and kind of see what you could do, and have fun doing it, where there's not really any constraints of a live brief and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's always trying to carve time out for that amongst the real work essentially. But I do think it's an important part of our roles. And again, as a leader of a team, I don't want people to be kind of thinking that what they're doing is just getting stuff done. It's partly about them coming to work with us as well to learn. And if we're not on those industry standard tools or knowing what that is, then I think that's not great for their development. And again, that point of no one's going to be with us forever in that same kind of role. So we want to help people grow, and if they need to have time to experiment on a new piece of software, then we should be able to make that work at some point.
It's so interesting, Dan, because I think that one of the things that people tend to come to me with is like, I'm on the hamster wheel of just doing the doing and all of this. Whereas what you just said then is you make time for your team to sort of zoom out and step back and really re-engage with their why for doing this work ultimately, and like that joy without the time constraints and pressure. I think it's interesting because doing that so often in a role could be the difference between burnout or sustained positive mental health in the professional setting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, based on that as well, like there's loads of tutorials, videos, courses that are always focused on the tool usage and getting up to speed on a tool. How do you help people improve their understanding and their capacity and ability for better conceptual thinking?
I think it's the consumption of like that kind of work, and it's like staying up to date with the latest, agencies, brands, whoever who are doing that work that you think is amazing. You've just got to look at other stuff and I think feel like what's amazing work, and then kind of work out how might they have made that. And I think at the minute, even with all of these new pieces of software and AI, there's such a renaissance of craft that I feel like is kind of counter to this stuff that's like all of the amazing work that Telstra have been doing with Bear Meets Eagle on Fire, like handcrafted puppets and paper, and there's like a Coinbase ad from a few months ago where they kind of created this aesthetic of like an old video game, but it was all people in painted costumes. And again, you could do that stuff so easy with a piece of technology or AI, but the craft and the effort they went to execute that idea just made it so much more special.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's I remember like when I first got into brand, and it was like you would walk around everywhere and just go, I wonder what the brief was behind that. Like, how did that get to that? And I think that curiosity, and you're right, like being able to follow people who are producing the work that you love and then trying to dig in and find out more, which almost back to the very beginning questions is a great way of going, hey, I'd love to understand more about this campaign. Can we meet up for coffee?
Yeah.
Is a nice way of, there's a nice way of coming about it.